Hello Facebook, hello Facebook Live. It's Marilyn Devonish here from transformationstm.com, and also hello to YouTube. Got to broaden my horizons in terms of these platforms. And I've had a really interesting 24 hours. Yesterday, decided seemingly randomly to design an online quiz looking at and exploring the archetypal journey. So the archetypal journey, for those of you who are not aware, if you've not come across it before, it's about the kind of journey that we take through life. And if you've ever watched a favorite movie, you have seen the archetypal journey in action. That's everything from Dorothy and those red shoes right through to Neo in The Matrix, Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. And actually George Lucas is very open in talking about reading the works of Joseph Campbell when coming up with the idea for Star Wars and how to map that out. So, you know, any great movie follows the archetypal journey, which I think is why they resonate so deeply, because we as human beings are storytellers, and that's how we pass down and share knowledge and wisdom, you know, metaphors, symbols, even kind of going as far as the dreams, which is one of the things that Joseph Campbell talks about, and I'm sure one of the things that Carl Jung explored as well. So yesterday the idea was that I would create an online quiz, which means you can, in terms of just answering a very simple question, it will give you an idea of where you are on your archetypal journey. So created that yesterday. It actually took about 12 hours and I wasn't sitting at my desk for the whole 12 hours, but I started at a particular time around about midday and finished coming up to 1 a.m. And it's actually been really fascinating. I sent it out to my e-newsletter list, and I've had about 7, well, I haven't checked, but when I checked this morning a few hours ago, I'd had over 70 people, 70, take the quiz, and I was asking them for feedback in terms of, number one, does everything work? Is it all linked in the right way? Right through to how does it resonate? And with the exception of one person who I think got kind of stuck in the quiz, everybody else, it's worked perfectly. It's all been linked. Few, only 2 spelling mistakes so far, which is great considering the size of the database that sits behind it. And what was really wonderful was that people were saying with the answer that they chose, it resonated with where they are in their life at the moment. So that was absolutely amazing. And the archetypes is something I came across in 2005. And it was, when I heard it, I'm like, oh, I know this, because I've been a fan of Carl Jung since I was 18 years old when I did A-level psychology. However, to hear it laid out in this way, and somebody was asking about books, because I've also used this for corporations and use this in working with teams, this is one of the books that I would recommend if you're interested in it from a branding point of view. This is called The Hero and the Outlaw, Building Extraordinary Brands Through the Power of Archetypes. So this one is a good read from a corporate context. Good morning, Sheila Mack. How are you? This one, however, is my absolute go-to guide on all things archetypes. I highly recommend it, but this is the one. It's the booklet that comes when you take the archetypal profile test. This is 54 pages, and this is the booklet that comes with the profile test. That is by far the best one of the best books I've ever read in terms of explaining the individual archetypes, because it looks at the 12 archetypes, which are the facets of our personality. That's the best one I've ever read. However, I can buy those because I'm a practitioner. I don't think they kind of sell them separately, but The Hero and the Outlaw is a good one. And so what you'll find, let me just give you a little peek of the test. I've got some screenshots because that's sometimes a little bit easier. Then let's have a look, see if I can show you this. Da, da, da. So actually, before we begin, when I say the hero's journey, which is one of the, hey Mandy, and when I say the hero's journey, this is a slide from one of my workshops, and I kind of explain that even if you're not consciously aware of the hero's journey, you do know of the journey, because if you watch any good movie, they have followed that journey. And so that's one that I kind of often take people through in terms of just explaining kind of what it's all about and how it works and that sort of thing. In terms of the kind of the archetypes themselves, what I've done with regards to the quiz, I've given you the option. You can just go straight into the quiz and go, thanks very much, in Jerry Maguire thing, show me the money. You can go straight in and do the quiz, or you can stop on the page that explains, what is an archetype. So it gives you a sense of what the archetypes are. I've pulled up a couple of examples so that you can understand it a bit more clearly. I've also kind of done a similar page if you wanted to go on and read a bit further, read about the Star Wars connection and how it relates to movies. So you have the option. Actually, I'll probably pull it up on screen. I done a screen share? I think I've set up a screen share. What I'll do is I'll pull it up on screen and see if I can show it to you in real time as well. And that's what when you go on to the page, that's what you'll see. So you click the top button, it will take you into the quiz, and then depending on what you choose, it will show you the stage of the archetypal journey that you are at, and give you just an overview of that. And what I've also started to do, and I'll probably add to it over the next few days, what I've started to do is also just tell you a bit about the individual archetypal energy that will be useful to help you with the stage that you're in and help you move you to the next stage, because there are 8 stages in the archetypal journey. It starts with hearing the call, and this is the call to do something different, the call to do something else. Sometimes it's the call to be greater than the person that you currently are. So if we think about Neo in the Matrix, for example, he was sitting in his apartment hacking computers, and he gets the message. Basically, he gets a call saying, hey, we have a message for you. He then goes from grunge apartment to meeting Morpheus and the team of renegades, eventually going to see the seer, who actually doesn't tell him what he wants to hear. However, he gets a taste that he could be more than he is, and there is another journey, another path that he could be on. Same with Luke Skywalker. I think the scene that really sums it up for me is Luke is trying to lift this thing out of a bog with the power of his mind, and he's just not getting it. However, you and I, the viewer, knows that when he moves into that space of belief, and when he starts stepping into his potential, all things are possible. So there's something quite magical about the archetypal journey, or what in the context of, let's say, the work of Joseph Campbell, you'd call the hero's journey. It's powerful stuff. And one of the reasons I put this one together is when you know where you are on the archetypal journey, because let's say, for example, you're in the abyss. The abyss is, the way I describe the abyss is a bit like, if you've ever seen the movie, there's a scene in the movie where they are underwater. Everything above, below, to the left and to the right and all around them is just blue. There's no sense of direction. And when you're in something like the abyss, or actually even if you've just stepped over the threshold and you're now stepping into the challenges, it can seem completely overwhelming, and you just don't know which way to turn, you don't know what to do. So I think the nice thing about the archetypal journey gives you a sense of where you are, lets you know what's coming up, and it can equip you for the stage you're in right now, because one of the stages is pretty much called the dark night of the soul, and oftentimes it can be just as it sounds, where people hit rock bottom. And if you don't have the tools, the skills, the strategies and the resources to move yourself out of that and up out of that and beyond that, it can be a really dark place for a long time. So it's been very interesting to put it together. It's been fantastic just having people take the quiz. Mandy says use the force loop, and that's exactly it. And one of the archetypes is the magician archetype, which is very much that kind of catalytic transformation energy. Another one that I think many people are in at the moment is kind of a mix, almost like of the warrior archetype and the destroyer, which is very much about, letting things go, changing old structures, releasing things. And so when you take the quiz, it will give you a sense of where you are in the archetypal journey. And also the good news is you kind of go, okay, I'm not stuck here forever. There's another stage coming, there's another stage coming, there's another stage coming. And at the time I saw the archetypal journey in 2005, I was then 5 years out of what was a 32-year journey, where I had heard the call, had been hearing it for many years, didn't answer it until I was 32, and then within 3-4 months I whizzed around the whole archetypal circle. Now some people may hear the call their entire life. You hear these stories. It was Jim Carrey, who talked about his father's ambitions for himself, the fact he never lived those ambitions. And so the story goes that because Jim had said he's going to get paid like $1 million or $10 million for a movie, and he put the check into the casket with his father. And there's a whole backstory to that, and he's doing this whole, getting goosebumps now, he's doing this whole speech about telling people to live their dream, pursue their passion. And he shares a story of his father who didn't quite do that in his lifetime, but Jim still wanted to share part of the realization of his dream with his father just before he died. So it's an interesting one in terms of the way these things play out, and kind of living into the idea of that, living into the potential of that. But it really, really, really is powerful stuff. I absolutely love it. And some people will step in, answer the call. Some people will not, and the call will go with them to their grave. And that's cool, because I'm sure we're all on our various kind of soul paths, if you want to put it that way. However, for those who have heard the call and want to answer it, it can be interesting. And it might be that your archetypal journey takes you an entire lifetime to fulfill. It may be that you go on several journeys and you can whiz around the curve. Now, my archetypal journey, 3-4 months, is pretty fast, because I answered the call in October 2000, didn't realize that's what was happening. And by December 2000, I've been offered a job. I was studying to be a chartered accountant in October 2000. Came across this field of NLP and hypnosis and timeline therapy, and who knows, like, oh my god, there's a whole new world out here. And I put a goal in my future timeline that in 2 years time, because I was thinking, right, once I finish the ACCA exams, once I kind of do my kind of training and I find a job with an accountancy firm, maybe I can do a bit of part-time coaching. That's how my brain was working. But I put a goal in my timeline that I'd be doing coaching, training, therapy, and that my words were I would be living and breathing this stuff. A couple of weeks later, the company that I did my training with offered me a job. My job description was to do coaching, training and therapy, and I was what you call running the room. So I'd be the first person in, sometimes 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, last person out 9, 10 o'clock at night, sometimes a 29-day straight run, pretty much. And if that's not living and breathing it, I don't know what is. And that all happened within the space of 3 months. That's fast. And so the premise of the archetypal journey, once you hear the call, you step over the threshold, meet the challenges, get your coach, get your mentor, get your guide, yada, yada, yada. Eventually, you return to the kingdom with your gifts. And your gifts are your skills, your knowledge, your expertise, your wisdom, new business, whatever it might be. And so I did that cycle in 3 months. Within 6 months, I was living a completely different life. However, when people go, oh, that's quick, I'm like, no, you missed the point. It took me 32 years to answer the call. And that's because I just didn't understand or didn't know what was going on. And so with all of this, once you have an idea about it, once you have a bit more clarity about it, once you have a bit more insight, because the thing about the archetypes, because there's the 12 individual archetypes, which are like the facets of our personality, and then there's the 8 stages of the archetypal journey, which is the journey we're on through life. When you, particularly with the archetypal profiles, as you call them, when you make them more conscious, you can harness the power of them. Because at any stage in life, and the archetypes will go up and down depending on the situation that you're in, but any particular stage in life, there are archetypes being expressed, there are archetypes being repressed, there are archetypes being denied, there are archetypes being ignored. And when things are being repressed and knowingly ignored, they can also be playing out like a naughty child. And so I shared a couple of examples of how that can show up. Let's say something like the lover archetype, which does sound amazing. And on the one side, it's wonderful. It's about that sense of connection. It's about sensuality. On the other side of the coin, if you think about the movie Dangerous Liaisons, that's both the jester archetype and the lover archetype running amok, because it's cruel. it's evil, it's the con man, it's the trickster energy. And so when the archetypes are in balance, it's all good. When for whatever reason the archetypes are being pushed aside, that's when it can get a little bit crazy. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to, hey Roy, so Roy says I'll catch the replay later. Cool. So let me just see if I can, I think I've got it set up for screen share where it does this crazy thing. So what you should see, I believe, once it's finished going go for a time warp, is my screen. I'm gonna skip to quiz. So this is what you'll see. Just an example is you're going to have some questions here. How are you feeling? Describe your current situation. And as you read them, go with the one that most resonates. And because we are complex human beings, and all of the archetypes, the 12 archetypes, are at play in some way, shape, or form, as I've just described. And you can also you can have several journeys running at once, depending on what you're working on and what you're doing as well. And you can be in between. You can be like just moving out of one stage into another. And there's always the potential to scurry back to the safety of the call, because you don't want to confront change, or you don't want to let go, or you don't want to go through the transformation. So, you know, just so go with the question that most resonates. So, for example, there's a question about how are you feeling? Are you feeling restless? Is there a sense of discomfort with life? Are you considering new possibilities? Are you facing difficulties or overwhelming challenges? Is there maybe uncertainty about your next steps, or even uncertainty about a decision you've made? Because when I made the decision to give up the chartered accountancy, actually it's not a good example, because when I made the decision to give up the chartered accountancy studies, for me it felt like a no-brainer. However, somebody could take that kind of life step and then be going, oh my God, have I done the right thing? Oh my God, was I crazy? Da, 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 da. So, you know, it can show up in funny ways. It might be that you're in a position where you feel as though you are actively working on resolving old issues, and kind of, in, I guess, storytelling terms, you're now ready to slay the dragon, not just hide behind the rock and go, oh my God, there's a dragon. You're like, okay, bring it on. It could be that you're excited, you're exploring new possibilities, having kind of gone over the threshold, gone through some of those challenges. It may be that you feel that actually you've been through a lot, and suddenly it's starting to make sense. And I know for me, when I look at the bigger picture and context of my life, I was very quiet and very shy growing up. And I was a people watcher. And I remember saying to someone probably about, I don't know, 12 or so years ago, no, probably even a bit longer than that, but let's just say 12 or so years ago, so I was doing an interview. And I remember saying, I said, you know what, now as a coach and a therapist, my people watching skills have come to the fore, because that's what I'm doing. I'm observing, I'm looking for patterns, I'm listening, because oftentimes I'm not seeing my clients, because I do a lot of work on telephone, I do a lot of stuff by Skype. I'm listening to the nuances, and a lot of that skill comes from just being a wallflower growing up. So in the wider context, it's like, oh my God, this all is now starting to make sense to me. And it may be that you've come to the end of a project, or the end of a phase, or the end of a cycle. And so you're in celebration mode about that. But by the same token, because I think sometimes the reason people don't finish things is there's a fear of completion. There's a fear because you don't know what comes next. And so it's almost like a double-edged sword, if you wanted to put it that way. So what you do with the quiz is you pick the thing that resonates for you, and then you just click on whatever it is, and as if by magic, ta-da! Work for me, baby, work, yay. What it will do is it will bring up the particular stage that you are at. So this one happens to be the abyss, where you've taken those first steps, but it can seem like you're lost. Did you make the right decision? Should you abandon ship and scurry back to what you know? This is the one that is, as I was saying earlier, described like the dark night of the soul, where it can feel as though you've hit rock bottom. And then I'm talking about, you know, the archetype of the caregiver can be really good here in terms of nurturing yourself and being in a space of self-love. And also a dash of the transformative magician energy can be useful, where you start to really harness the power of your own thoughts, what we would call in modern day terms, let's say, law of attraction. So, you know, that's the way that the quiz works. Once you kind of get to the end of the quiz, you have a couple of options. You can learn more about the archetypes. That will take you over to my website, where, let's just make sure this works. Yeah, we're good. And so what it does is it takes you to the archetypes. What I've done here is I've listed out the archetypes, just so you can get a sense of what they are. I talk a bit about how do they influence your life, what will you notice when they're in alignment, also what will you notice when the archetypes are not in balance, and what you can do to really harness those. And then there's the opportunity to get either just the archetypal profile and questionnaire, or if you wanted to book an archetypal profile analysis session, that's on there too. So that's what happens when you press that button. Phew, well done. You also have the opportunity, just while I'm playing with this and in launch mode, as I often do, and I'm launching something new, click here to save £81. That's 8 plus 1, £81 on your archetypal analysis session. And also use this link if you want to be invited to the webinar that I'm going to be running about this at some point. And then what you can also do is you can restart the quiz. And so what that will do is it will take you back to the beginning. If, let's say, there were a couple of things that resonated with you, and then you just click the one there, which is, you know, start your exploration. And there you have the option to just go straight to the quiz because you know about the archetypes. You might not know anything, or you might go, oh, remind me. And then depending on which of those you click will determine you go straight to the quiz. So that's basically it, really, in terms of how it all works. So I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who took the quiz and sent me your feedback. That's amazing. I have read all of the feedback. I just didn't reply to everyone because there was a lot. I sent it out about 7 o'clock last night, so I was thinking, people won't be online. And it was like the emails were just coming with the feedback, which is brilliant, and that's continued on into this morning. So that is fabulous. So yeah, if you're on my e-newsletter list, I sent it out last night, so check it out, do the quiz, let me know how you get on. And I think what's going to be really interesting with this is, now, because I haven't looked, but let's just say this morning it was at it was 76 views, but I know a couple of those were me going in and testing. So let's just say it was at 70 views and people participating. I can't see who said what for obvious reasons in terms of privacy, but what it does is it aggregates it tells you that, you know, we have this many people who are at the call stage, and this many people who are in the abyss, and this many people who are in the transformation, and this many people who are in atonement. So what I will probably do at some stage is just have a look at that. And in terms of looking for patterns, I'm maybe going to look and see if there are any patterns in terms of where people are at, in terms of the stage that they're in, because that in and of itself is going to be really interesting. And I know from conversations I've had with people about where I'm at the moment, and from my perspective, I'm kind of on the cusp of the return, which is the last stage, and the call, which is the first stage. However, I don't yet know what the new call is. And sometimes the call is very clear, like, let's just say, for those of you who follow me with the Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas, who created Access Consciousness, he was very clearly told, you need to work in this particular way. So sometimes the call will speak to you like, you know, Neil Donald Walsh, Conversations with God. Other times it's kind of subtle. Like for me, it was very subtle. It was like, oh God, you know, I've just discovered I'm going to be a chartered accountant and I still have to talk to people. Crap. Which is the only reason I started looking at communication skills training. And I had no idea that step would lead to the next thing, would lead to the next thing, would lead to the next thing. So I was kind of almost like, I felt like I was tricked into it in a way initially. I was just talking about that. I just did an interview with Anne Jersh for her Time Slip show. If you haven't seen it, it'll be on my page. And she was asked, she said, number one, I can't believe you were ever fearful. She even got the name of the show wrong. She paid someone to do the poster. And it came back saying from fearless to fabulous. And I said, Anne, they're kind of the same thing. It's meant to say fearful. And she says, Marilyn, she said, I sent them the wrong information. She says, I cannot imagine that you were fearful and quiet and shy and lacking in confidence and scared to talk to people. So her psyche, and she then said it wrong on the show today. We were laughing about it. I think it's brilliant because she's saying she just does not compute with her brain. that whole scenario. So sometimes it's subtle to get you where you need to be, and other times it's very clear. However, the nice thing about it, which I think, in terms of the benefits of knowing about the archetypal journey, it can give you a sense of peace of mind. It can help you with clarity. It can even go as far as giving you hope, because it's a journey, it's a process, it's not the full stop. So I'm in that stage now of going, okay, I get that some things in terms of the way that I'm working and what I'm doing and what I offer and put out into the world is definitely changing. I don't yet know what the next new thing is, and maybe it will be the voice of God, or maybe it will just be subtle, and I'll find myself doing this thing here, and then I'll do this other thing here, and then I'll do this thing here, and suddenly, before you know it, something else is revealed. Because I know I'm next month, if you're watching this in real time, I'm going to be running the first proper full-on online global training, where formats similar to this, or on a private webinar platform, I'm going to be delivering a workshop. So you guys will be able to see the PowerPoint slides. There's a whiteboard facility in there. You'll be able to hear everything I'm doing. You have the opportunity to type your questions and comments in like you do on Facebook. You also have the opportunity to open up your microphone so you can ask questions and participate, or you can go one further than that and you can actually have your camera switched on as well. So we're going to be in a virtual training room. So that's the direction I'm heading. Is I did it the first time as a full-on process, as a live stream, with a workshop I ran last summer. We had people from Canada, Australia, across the United States, even people from the United Kingdom taking part, and we were live stream event. It's like a posh and expensive version of Facebook Live. I ran the first test of what I'm going to do next month with the Money Breakthrough group last week, just to see, and it was electric. It was like well, we were all in the same space, of course, but it's like we were in the room together. It was absolutely mind-blowing, which made me then go, do you know what, let's do this thing, it will totally work. I'm even toying with the idea of possibly, and again, if you're on my e-newsletter list, you'll get a heads up first, I'm thinking about possibly because I've always threatened to teach reading angel tarot, and I'm thinking actually this could be a really good medium for that. So we'll all be in our respective homes with our tarot cards, and because I do my tarot readings and I do my Huna sessions, I do my breakthrough coaching sessions, I do all of that on either by telephone or by Skype. And if you've read any of the testimonials I've shared, people feel the energy of that, and the transformation is as true and as real as the days when I was seeing people in person. So I'm like, well, why wouldn't it work? So the thing I might do after I've done the Practitioner Insider Secrets global workshop is I may look at doing one for getting into the vibe and the energy of how to really deeply connect into your intuition, how to connect into what I call the collective consciousness, and kind of do the readings both for yourself and for others. So I'm just mulling that one over. And I've got, with many of the workshops I've actually done as, stand and deliver workshops, I know a lot of them will lend themselves to the global format. So for you guys who are joining me for the Practitioner Insider Secrets workshop, we're going to do it in two parts. Part one is next month, and then what we'll do, because I want to then coordinate time zones, because this one a lot of people are going to catch up with the recording, but when we kind of look at the time zones, I'll pick something that's conducive as much as I can, because I know oftentimes when I do my teleseminars and webinars, I've got people from Australia, and so that's quite a big differential, and India, and so we'll see how we go. But yeah, so that's one of the directions I'm heading in. That doesn't feel like the call in and of itself, but I suspect it's part of that journey. So thank you to everyone who has taken the quiz, and for everyone who will maybe take it in the future. Definitely keep me posted in terms of how it resonates with you and what it brings up. I've already had somebody in one of the groups that I'm in. I just put it into that group as well, because we are all using the same software. And I just had and somebody said, oh, I'd love to do the quiz. And that has sparked this whole conversation today about archetypes about, because they were saying I didn't realize how, you know, prevalent it is in films and how prevalent it is in movies. And so it's gone off in a whole direction. So there's a whole big conversation around it there. And even the one I did before this, I did the Buffy boyfriend quiz, as in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which of her boyfriends is the one for you. And I did it as a bit of fun. I wanted to warm up to creating this quiz, because it's about following the logic trail. To build the quiz, you've got to almost create algorithms in your mind, right? If somebody selects that answer, it's going to lead to there, and if somebody says that, and the Buffy one was actually a little bit more complex than the one I've just put together. However, it was a forerunner for just getting the creative juices flowing. But what happened in that just sharing that quiz again with the group, we had the most profound conversations about life, relationships, the soul, choosing, the light and the shadow side. It was just like beyond, and I just created it for a bit of fun. So, you know, I'm really looking for, if we can have that kind of level of conversation about Buffy boyfriends, I'm really looking forward to seeing where the conversation with this one goes, and I'll keep you guys posted. For those of you who click on the you know, submit your email at the end of the Archetypal Journey quiz, I will keep you updated about the date for the webinar, because what I'll probably do is a 1-hour webinar talking about some of this stuff in more details, giving you a bit more insight about the archetypes and the profiles. People can maybe share where they are in their journey, and I'll talk a little bit about how you can help make the stage that you're in more comfortable, even easier, more fun, and also the archetypal energies that will help you move round to the next stage, because it is more than possible to get stuck, and of course it's more than possible to get scared as well and just go back to where you were. So all of that will be coming. But, you know, thank you for watching. Thank you to everyone who has taken the quiz. I really, really appreciate it. I don't think I've got any more tweaking to do now. I've incorporated the changes, including, you know, the restart button, etc., etc. So that was brilliant, much appreciated. Yeah, and if you're interested in doing the archetypal profile, it's on my website. It's under a funny one, actually. Let me have a look, see where it is, because it's on the one, I think it's under the coaching tab, but let me just remind myself. Oh yeah, sorry, there's what there is. Yeah, so it's there's a whole thing that says archetypes and soul plans. If you go to www.transformationstm.com, TRANCE as in hypnotic trance, formations, F for Freddy, ORMIOTLS.com, transformationstm.com. If you kind of go there, the third tab along says archetypes and soul plans, so you can kind of, you know, get more information there as well. And if you just want the very basic overview, then, you know, when the quiz, if you're on the newsletter list, it's all there. So continue to keep the feedback coming. Let me know how it resonates, and I look forward to exploring the potential patterns. So I will catch you all later. Bye bye. Actually, one other thing before I say bye-bye, my brain was like, and if you know anyone who could benefit from knowing a bit more about where they are in their archetypal journey, or even just understanding it, feel free to share this link. And if you've got the quiz link, feel free to share the quiz link as well. My brain was like, remind people, because people don't always think to share. They just go, oh, that's interesting. But sharing it would be fabulous as well. Cool. Oh, Sheila says, beautiful. My journey is on super speed right now, and it's very good, and going yet faster than me at times, and sending and receiving many blessings. Thank you, Sheila, and wonderful, fabulous blessings to you too. And I know what you mean about the super speed, and it's weird. There are some times where I'm like, man, this is warp speed, and other times I'm like, okay, anything, something, please, movement, progress. So it's a weird one, but when it's on charge, it really, really is. And I feel like I'm on that you know, if you've been on a roller coaster and it lulls, I think, people into a false sense of security, because as the roller coaster starts, it goes and people are like, oh, this is dull, and they're all cool, and then it hits that tipping point, and then it's like whoosh. And I feel as though, for myself personally, I'm in that stage. Haven't quite hit the tipping point yet, but I think when I do, it will be the super speed that you're talking about, Sheila, particularly if the last big archetypal journey that I experienced is anything to go by. So cool. Brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. I'm really going now. So thank you for watching. Thank you for the likes and the thumbs up, etc. It's lovely to always have those, because Facebook Live, for those of you who do them, can sometimes feel a bit like you're talking to yourself. Not in this case, I've had the fabulous comments, and the likes and the thumbs up remind you that people are there. So thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching if you're also catching this in the replay, and thank you for the shares. Cool. I really will catch you later. Bye.